everything that I know says I gotta go, tired of going solo. But I'm never gonna go there again. This is what it is, this is who I am, this is where I finally take my stand. I didn't want to fall, but I don't have to crawl. I'm not the one with two star hands, giving him the best of everything that's left of the life inside this man. I've been born again.
Yes, born again. Newsboys, Eddie Huff here with you on a Saturday. I don't know what day or time it is where you are when you're listening to this, but we're having fun on a Saturday morning. Dave Van Risingham, how are you, Dave?
I'm doing great, other than the Oklahoma drivers I had to deal with getting here.
All right.
We'll have to have a segment on future shows. What's wrong with Oklahoma drivers? But anyway.
Yeah, I think it's because they get their licenses in Cracker Jack boxes.
Okay.
Yeah, that must be because
yesterday you were belly aching about the drivers in your neighborhood.
Oh my goodness! Well, no, it's more like parkers in my neighborhood. You know, they don't know how to park either. So it's not good. So anyway, but Dave, guess what?
What?
We've got a special guest again today.
We
have a candidate for the 2nd District House of Representatives.
He wants to go to Washington.
Mr. Nofire. Mm-hmm. I hope he's got some fire in his belly.
Got a lot of fire.
Got a lot of fire.
Yeah,
okay.
As always.
We want to introduce to you to Mr. Wes Nofire, running for the 2nd Congressional District of Oklahoma.
Well, thanks for having me here today.
Oh, Wes, it's our pleasure very much. Hey, would you introduce yourself for our listeners?
Yeah, my name is Wes Nofire, from Tahlequah, Oklahoma, running for Congress. Grew up about 30 minutes outside of Tahlequah, rural area of northeast Oklahoma. It was a great childhood experience. Had a mom and dad. They worked multiple jobs. My dad was a pastor. They put themselves through college all while raising 3 kids. So they instilled in me and my siblings a hard work ethic that if you're going to work hard, you should get rewarded for that hard work. And right now with the inflation and everything going on in this country, due to the Biden administration, we're still in the fruits of that hard work from every Oklahoman. And so it's a very important reason to send a fighter to D.C. to fight to protect for the values of rural Oklahoma.
Wow. Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, that's good to hear. I mean, it's so good to hear because we have so many people today that just don't get it. It's all about, I'm going to go to Washington, do this, and this. But they're losing the real reason that you go to Washington. Right. And that is to represent the people that you represent.
Absolutely.
You know, anytime I hear a campaign ad where the individual talks about, I'm going to go do this, and this, I'm going to overturn Roe v. Wade. Right. I'm going to change the tax structure. I'm going to, protect the Second Amendment. I'm going to blah, blah, blah. Okay. It's a great ideal. But as a congressman, honestly, you're sent there for one reason. First of all, the first primary reason is to represent your home district.
Yep.
And I think once people lose that, we start voting for the wrong reason. And then once we vote for this big picture up here and we lose the little picture, and people do that in 50 states in all the districts that are out there, it gets lost, and that's how we lose. And if people would go back to trying to defend their local areas and winning that battle, maybe we would get it back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all about small government. That's where it does its best job at. I mean, you can't have a voice in D.C. from your local school board. That's why you vote on your local school board. That's where you have your reflection there of how you want to instruct the teachings of your children, and that gives the parents the control there. But the parents don't have the control in D.C., so that's why you got to have small government. And sending a representative from Oklahoma to D.C. has to be that, has to go up there and fight for the rights of the Oklahoma citizens on the direction that they would like to choose. We all know nationally there's a lot of big issues, border security, Second Amendment rights, that Oklahomans are very passionate about and how they have those rights protected. But being in D.C., it's about protecting those rights in which direction they'd like to choose. And that's where we've already taken measures from being a current tribal counselor at Cherokee Nation, being a conservative voice there, to try to get information out there and trying to protect those rights. I know one big one that we all hear about when congressmen are around, we got to protect the border and build the border wall. Yeah, that's true. But what about Oklahoma possibly becoming a border state? Cherokee Federal tried to bring an illegal immigration camp to Tulsa just a couple weeks ago. And so, I spoke out against it from the council standpoint. Even a year ago when they were getting involved in those federal contracts in California, I said, this isn't the business of the Cherokee people. It's not the business of Oklahoma tribes to be in California dealing with illegal immigration camps. So I was afraid that they were going to bring that here to Oklahoma, and obviously they tried to do that. So after speaking out against it, I called Tulsa County Sheriff Vic Regalado. I've known him from a long time, knew him from back when I was a boxer. He liked to be around the boxing ring a little bit, and so when I was an amateur boxer here in Tulsa, we got to know each other, and I called him up, and I said, what could I do to help? We got to make sure it doesn't happen.
Now I know why that.
Now my nose is a little crooked. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, somebody else's nose is prominent besides mine.
He's a drugstore cowboy. Yeah. He's no drugstore boxer.
Well, boxing, that was the thing. My nose would stick out in the head mask, and that thing's just going to get knocked off. And so obviously it's got a little crookedness there, but I protected it well and had a very successful career. I was 20-2 as a national heavyweight ring boxer. So.
Wow. As charming a discussion that is, could we get back to the real important stuff? Yeah. For once, I'm the one who wants to hear the important stuff, and Dave's the distracted one. Yeah. Okay, so you were on the tribal council.
Right.
And you had voted or spoken your piece of mind regarding this new Indian involvement in bringing illegal aliens in. Yeah. And so please continue.
Yeah. So after speaking out of that, I called Vic Regalado and I said, what can I do to help? And so we met up here the morning of the Tulsa commission meeting, in which they were going to have to take a vote on whether to approve that use of the building here in Tulsa. And Vic, I stood behind him and supported him and standing up and speaking out against it. Citizens were there speaking out against it. So ultimately it's protecting, like you said, the rights of the citizens and working with local law enforcement agencies on this case, and also other legislators that spoke out against that coming here. So obviously, we got that voted down and making sure that we continue to protect the rights and the wishes of Oklahomans.
Oh man, praise God. Hallelujah and amen. No, I mean, that warms my, but see, these are things we don't hear about. Mm-hmm. I didn't hear about. Did you hear about this? No. I did not hear about this. So this basically started from the Cherokee tribal
federal contractors. Yeah.
Federal contractors.
Yeah.
Okay. And then bled over into the Tulsa City Council?
Yeah.
Wow. So.
Well, no, county commissioners.
County commissioners. Okay, which is even more expansive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and this is exactly what we've been talking about. That it begins at a local level, local, county, and then it needs to spread to the state. Right. And this is why we've got to begin electing people that start in a smaller arena, but that have the right vision and the right idea, and then can take that same vision into a larger scale.
Yep.
So, man, praise God. Seriously, this really, yeah, man, I don't know what to say. It really speaks to what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I want to go to another thing. Rather than ask you just a straight up, what's your opinion on McGirt and stuff?
Right.
I want to ask you, give me a blueprint, bullet points. What would you say is the way forward in this?
The way forward, and specifically with the McGirt handling of it, is getting tribal leaders and state leaders to sit back down at the table, because it affects everybody, whether you're a citizen of a tribal government or not. You're an Oklahoman, and it affects you one way or the other. And so you have to have leadership from both parties to sit down and start working out those agreements to protect citizens' rights. And that's the starting point. Once we're able to start getting those leaders to sit down and start practicing good faith measures and working towards an agreement, needs to be brought out in the public, so the public is aware of what they're discussing, what rights citizens have, and then get their federal legislators involved, and that way we can go to D.C. and write federal legislation. That way we can correct the wrongs that are coming out of that decision.
Okay, so you're saying we got to build consensus. Marco Mullin sat at this table a couple weeks ago, said that the same thing. But I want to dig a little deeper.
Right.
What would that look legally?
Right.
If you had your opportunity to carve out a solution.
To carve out a solution, it would be under a compact agreement. The federal government would institutionalize for the state and the tribes to operate out of. And going back to the legal aspect, compacts are the great way to look at things, because compacts you can change them, alter them for the benefit of the citizens. So if there's problems and how that compact's affecting them, we can always go back and change it. If you put something else in there that you're not able to change, then it becomes another issue where, like we see with Roe v. Wade, whenever the Supreme Court takes a decision, you have to wait on what the Supreme Court to rechange their decision or congressional action, which is very difficult sometimes to get things done in Congress, as we all do.
Yeah, there's so many things that the tribes have their own tribal law, and then we have state and federal law.
Right.
And there's so many of these that are now intersecting.
Right.
We had the situation with the freedmen a few years ago. That's kind of died down a little bit. I don't know if it's totally over, it's been resolved yet, but at least for now it's kind of put aside. Then you have, of course, as you said, the McGirt decision. Of course, we've got the gaming situation, the big battle between the governor and the tribes on that. And there are all of these different issues. It would be, and what I want to get to, and we'll get to in a minute, about the names for, mascots and things is another issue that keeps coming up. But I wish there was a way to just resolve these, because, we're to be one nation under God.
Right.
Yet you've got the Cherokee Nation, the Muskogee Nation, the Creek Nation, the
sovereign nation.
Sovereign. Yeah, not just nation, but the sovereign nation. The Choctaw and the Chickasaw and the So-and-the-Saw and and so, and it seems that 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, this wasn't a big issue. We had our tribes, we had our state, we had our feds. Just as with everything else, we weren't this multicultural country. And when I look back, for example, the code breakers, for those who know or have looked into it, a big part of World War II winning in Japan were the code breakers, which were
Navajo, right?
Yeah, Navajo code breakers, okay, that the Japanese and the Germans could break the codes that the Americans were trying to use. So what they did, they just used the Navajo language that they never could break, that language, and this was our code. And they would have these Navajo tribesmen doing the code within these units. And I get goosebumps when I think about just the richness of it's such a simple thing, but each culture brought and brings such richness to our country. That's what makes it so great. But it's not because Navajo carved out their own little thing or Hispanics, Asians, black people, whatever. It's because we injected that into our country. Yeah. And so anyway, but it seems as though and particularly in the last 15, 20 years, it just keeps getting greater, the divide between the tribes and the nation at large seems to be becoming greater, just as it is between African Americans and Hispanics and Asians. It's just this polarization, and it's bad. What do you propose on that? I mean, have you thought about this? Or?
I have. It's a big issue. Being a half-blooded Indian man, a dad that's a full-blooded Cherokee, it's something I grew up as being part of who I was. Ultimately, my dad being a pastor, there's no difference whether you're a color of your skin or not. We're a multicultural nation, but ultimately we're a nation of people, and we're all people.
What nation are you referring to?
United States.
Yes. Okay.
That's where we're all at here. And so, my dad, his uncles, they all served in World War II. They were proud Americans. My dad's a proud American. He's proud to be the state of Oklahoma. And now we have this attempt by, honestly, the liberal agenda country with their woke ideology to divide us. And that's how they're using it to divide us.
I like to, real quickly, my favorite tribes, having grown up in Minnesota amongst the Dakota and the Ojibwe, and I come down here and I was just stunned. Because somebody didn't get the message down here that tribal members are supposed to play the victim card every time. And that didn't happen down here. They looked at opportunity and they grew the state. Fact is, it was the tribes that led the effort to get statehood. It really impresses me for a people that says, no, we're going to hold ourselves to a high standard, and we're going to advance for our people and all the people of Oklahoma. And that's just me, as a white boy, looking at them, speak to that. Because I'm sure you've run into people from other tribes, other places in the nation, and it just doesn't seem like the culture's the same.
Well, it's not. One thing is Cherokee Nation has a very rich history. I mean, they advanced themselves in their education system by leaps and bounds than anywhere else in this part of the country at that time. You had the Cherokee women's seminary, you had the male seminary there, and that's something that at one point in time, I think it was the only seminary or the highest level of education you could get west of the Mississippi. And that was brought to by a Cherokee Nation. So they're advancing themselves very well. And so to try to take a step back and say that we're victimized people and that we're living in oppression because of this country isn't the case. And in fact, a lot of the times, and we mentioned this about holding governments accountable, and what the McGirt decision does is you have to hold governments accountable. And they've been not being held accountable over at the Cherokee Nation. We've had problems over there of corruption and illegal activities against their own members. And so that's what I fought for while sitting on the council. That's the reason why it's very important to kind of address that, even as a federal level, to make sure that the federal rights of all people are protected. The individual rights, which is what we're supposed to be doing in this country, is protecting the individual rights of an American. And we're not doing that. And it's an important thing to talk about, and it's something that invigorates me. My dad has always been the leader of the family and trying to make sure we know who we are and be proud of who we are and where we come from. But that doesn't make us any different than anybody else.
That's really, really good. The other thing which relates to this is the whole thing, we discussed this a little before, and that is the names of sports teams.
Right.
And we had brought up the fact that generally changing the names from, say, the Washington Redskins, Union Redskins, or Atlanta Braves, or the Cleveland Indians, et cetera, it seems to me that it's been done more by liberal whites than it has been natives.
Right.
And because when I used to be on the radio with Pat Campbell, when we had our show here, we'd have Native Americans call in and saying that they have no issue. There's no problem with being called, the Redskins or the Indians, or, for example, the Seminole in Florida State or whatever. And in fact, I think it was Michael that brought up the fact that Tahlequah,
the school there when I went there.
The
high school.
Was it your school or Tahlequah High School?
High School Indians. I mean, we're all Indian school, but I mean, hey, that's something we're proud
but they're
of.
still called the Indians.
They're still called the Indians.
And NSU, the state college there, is
it was Redmond. They changed it to Riverhawks now.
Okay.
Right.
So my dad went to school there when he was a Redmond. I know the former chief of the Cherokee Nation. He went there and played basketball, and when he was a Redmond.
Was
and
that
I never heard
to your dad?
No, it wasn't. I mean, that's the thing is that when I was a kid, I always wanted starter jackets were big back then, and I wanted a Florida Seminoles jacket because I wanted that Seminoles on there because I was growing up with that, and that was something you wanted to wear on your shirt and on your jacket there. So, we start losing our culture actually whenever you start playing that game.
Yeah, I remember hearing that what happened there when that whole thing first started, that the tribes and the school was very smart. They met with the tribes and they spoke to them, and then the tribes, it was more of a rights thing then, and so they basically paid for the right to call themselves the Seminole.
Yeah.
And so they got way ahead of the game early on and just paid, it's like paying for the right to being the Cherokee or the whatever, So.
I think, all minorities that play the victim card, eventually they run out of real cases of victimhood and start inventing.
Right.
Because to me, growing up in Minnesota, the Minnesota Vikings, well, if you're a Scandinavian there, that's a source of pride.
Right.
Because we don't make our mascots things we're ashamed of or things we put down.
Or things that are weak. We're strong. So when you put a Native American as a mascot, that's a strong image. It's a strong thing to put out there. And so you get, for me, it was always a thing of pride when I was growing up, whenever you'd see an Indian mascot. Now, if something wants to use it derogatory, well, then you have an opportunity to educate them about the history. Exactly. That's something that the Atlanta Braves has done all too well in this country, is they took that. I know Mike's actually has worked with them heavily on making sure that's an educational aspect of it. You can be proud of it. Let me teach you about it. Even
things that were derogatory in their origin, and maybe Redskin was, okay, I grant that. The top franchise in Major League Baseball is the Yankees, the most valuable. Mm-hmm. That started out during the Revolutionary War as a term of derision.
Right.
And people took it as a sense of pride.
Right.
Kind of like, as Trump supporters, we call ourselves deplorables. We wear that as a badge of honor. And it's a turn it around.
Right.
Refuse to be a victim.
Right. Yeah. Once you buy into it, for example, and I'm going to head somewhere where I'm going to get myself in trouble, but it's okay. I don't care.
Here he goes.
I'm too old to worry about it. But anyway, when I was a kid growing up,
right,
black people were called Negroes or colored people, right?
Right.
Colored
or
people.
Worse.
or if you were colored Negroes.
Yeah.
So I remember the first time I was offended, or I offended somebody calling them colored. So I was working at a movie theater. My parents in the military, it was U.S. military, Army in Germany, and it was during the Vietnam War. It was like 69 or 70 anyway. And so I'm helping them with the concessions over Christmas holidays. I'm helping them out. And this guy comes up and he said, "Hey brother, you remind me of something, you know something?" And I said, "No, was he a colored guy?" I said, "Colored? Brother, we ain't been colored since Columbus landed or something like that." And so, he said, "Yeah, we black, man. We black." Okay. So all of a sudden, we went from being colored or Negroes to being black. So all of a sudden, black became a sense of pride. Right? So all of a sudden, whereas when I was a kid, if somebody called you black, those were fighting words, right?
Right.
But as soon as we accepted the derogatory term, it was gone.
Yeah.
In other words, you took the bite out of the hurt.
Yeah.
So what I always said, and I said this, on Pat Show, I said, just call me nigger.
Okay.
Whitey.
I'll get in trouble for laughing at him.
Yeah, no, but, you remember Sly and the Family Stone? Sly actually came out with a song. It was 69 or 70, and it was called "Don't Call Me Nigger Whitey."
Right.
Don't call me nigger Whitey. And it was this whole thing. And he was trying to, I think that's what the whole object of the song was, showing that it's useless to do this, okay? So, but my thing is, okay, if you call me that, if somebody says, "Hey, nigga, what up, Chuck?" Or honky, cracker, but like I said, black, once we identify with it, it took the sting out of it. Remember, nerd used to Okie in Oklahoma. Oh man, you didn't call somebody an Okie. It was a derogatory term. But once the Nerds movie came out, Revenge of the Nerds, all of a sudden everybody wanted to be a nerd.
Yeah.
You know, all of a sudden it meant you're smart. You're a genius. You work for IBM or something, right?
Right.
So anyway, but that's just something I've always thought. But Native American history, and we've talked about a couple of times on here, and we talked about it in the other room earlier, you know, about the Lakota, the Apache, the Crow, different ones, in the Cherokee earlier about you guys, I guess originally came from Virginia, North Carolina,
Tennessee area.
Yeah, Tennessee, that area. And you guys had a rich history. You guys have always been prosperous.
Yeah.
David talked about earlier about, what's his name? Greenwood LaFleur.
Yeah. The Choctaw, yeah.
Oh, was he Choctaw? Yeah. But I mean, Choctaw, Cherokee, all these, you guys were pretty prosperous before you ever came here. And they're prosperous still over in the South and in the Atlantic region over there.
Yeah.
So it's not like, you know, there's some bad negative history or something. It's all this forgotten stuff that everybody has just turned into this thing where it's all of a sudden, oh, those poor natives, you know, or those poor black folks, those poor Mexicans. I mean, you know, and this is what drives me nuts too. When we talk about, on one hand, you know, African people are so this, but then at the same time, you go back and they want to talk about these African kingdoms and we come from this and from this and from this. But at the other hand, we're always talking about how poor and downtrodden. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
It's, and I don't want to take away from you or your story, but I'm just saying that this is a part of human nature and it's done on purpose, I believe. It's done to try to create a narrative that gives somebody an advantage, and it's usually a political advantage. And with that, I want to get back to your story. So you're running for the 2nd Congressional District, and this is what I want to focus on right now, because I believe there's 2 things that I like about you. We've never met. Wes and Dave and I, we have never met before. But right away, I like a couple of things. One, you're youth. You're young. Got too many old people up there. 2, you're fresh. Your background, and I want to hear about that. I want to go to this next. You're not only Native American, but you've done some things, very different things.
Yeah.
Boxing. Okay. That has to be one of the more unusual backgrounds of any candidate that I've heard in a long time. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us, how did that happen? I think you were telling me, you wanted to play basketball. You played basketball in high school, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And did you want to play? Did you play in college at all?
I didn't play in college at all. I wanted to play in college. I was really hoping that I'd be able to go to Division I. I went and played.
Bobby Knight scared him off.
Well,
Bobby Knight.
Let him get to that. I want to hear. Yeah. So
went down for 2 weeks. Played with Bobby Knight down there, trying to hope to get some sort of attention of a D1 school. It didn't happen. NAIA schools wanted to pick me up, and I just was kind of a little burnt out, so went to college just without going and playing sports, looking for some other opportunity to stay active, and I like to scrap a little bit, so I found myself in a boxing gym actually up here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Was the first place that I walked into, and within a year of boxing, I was already at the National Golden Gloves level. Had got a phone call from a guy that I sparred with just once. He was fighting for a world title against Vitaly Klitschko in Bern, Switzerland. And so next thing I know.
So were you a heavyweight?
I was a heavyweight.
Oh, wow.
And so after that, my wife, she was a very successful business woman. She got a job opportunity in Florida, and that was the opportunity I saw as well to pursue professional boxing. And so we moved out there, and it was just very, very successful for me.
So you became a professional boxer, a heavyweight.
Heavyweight professional boxer. Ended my career with 20-2. So yeah, out of 20 victories, I think 16 of them were by knockout. fought everyone from on ESPN, Fox News, or Fox Sports. And so I had a great time. But one of the things I was proud of with boxing, though, was actually paving my own path by creating a management and promotional company. We all know boxing has its fair share of corruption in that sport. My dad always taught me, he said, never sell your soul out to anybody, not for a buck, never do. So we started it, worked with Mike Tyson and Mike Tyson Promotional Company. So it was a successful run, very successful, and had a good family behind me. Obviously led it with faith and trying to do the right things. Gave opportunities to young kids that were trying to aspire to be a professional athlete, to live the American dream. And there were times I didn't make a paycheck, but I made sure I was able to pay those young athletes who put in the work to come out and fight that night in front of their home crowd here.
Boy, I bet that's quite an experience, that whole fight game.
Yeah, it is. It is, and what you were mentioning too earlier about race being, when you're in a gym, it doesn't matter what color you are. You're taking punches or you're giving punches, and and afterwards, man, you earn respect of each other. And that's the thing this country doesn't have. We don't have respect for each other hardly anymore. We expect where you come from and knowing that we can go to battle together. At the end of the day, we're all Americans. We all love one another.
Now, what do you do now? What are you involved in now? So
when we moved back home to start a family, I got into real estate. So I have a real estate company that worked with Century 21 down in Tahlequah, and then my sisters and I are part owners of a mental rehabilitation facility. So it was kind of a family's work there. My dad and mom opened it in 95. My mom committed suicide roughly 12 years ago, and it wasn't a gun that did that. It was her mental state of mind, even though she used a gun. That one's Tinkerler Behavioral Services. Okay. Yeah. And so, that's why, we have to take an aggressive look at mental health, being conservatives in this country if we're going to protect our Second Amendment right. It is a freedom, Absolutely. And freedom comes with responsibilities. And we all know with the devastating mass shootings that's happened over the past couple of weeks that the liberal agenda is going to try to use that as an excuse to start limiting our rights to bear arms. And so we have to fight back with taking a real aggressive look at mental health. It's something that has been very forefront in our family as history, to make sure that we take a look at that.
Have you been a Republican from the beginning?
From the beginning. From the beginning, I've been a Republican. Grew up, one of the first elections I voted in was in the Obama race going on there. We were seeing what was happening. I was in here in Tulsa and working with the young Tulsa Leadership Professional Program. There's a lot of Democrats and liberals there, and so I always enjoyed the arguments that we would have on
type pros.
Type pros, yeah. So I always enjoyed the arguments I would have there because I would listen to you all day long, try to prove my position wrong, and I'll try to prove you why I'm right. And that's where I kind of got involved in the political world there.
How'd you end up with Mark Wayne Mullin's team? Because I understand.
Yeah, so Mike Stopp was former chief of staff of Mark Wayne Mullin's. He was one that I reached out to early on whenever we seen this as an opportunity to best serve Oklahoma. And, he was like, I'm going to get involved with this. And then I sat down with Mark Wayne Mullin's with dinner, and I was looking at the name of candidates that were already making their public announcement. And I said, none of them have anything different to be able to protect the rights of Oklahomans and some of the biggest issues we're faced with here in Oklahoma, like the McGirt decision and how to handle that. Okay. So it's been good there. We also have a good fundraising team that's worked with Mark Wayne Mullin's victory staff. And
okay, so just to clarify for those who may not know, because we had a pre-show conversation, Michael Stopp worked for Mark Wayne Mullin. Michael Stopp is now your campaign manager.
He's now my campaign senior staff member.
Gotcha. Yep. Gotcha. Okay.
And he's sitting right over here.
And he's sitting right over here as well.
Off camera.
Yeah, off camera.
Yeah. Okay, great. So you weren't officially on Mark Wayne Mullin's staff.
Right. I wasn't. Yeah, no, I wasn't. Mike was. I wasn't.
Okay. Has Mullin's endorsed you?
No, he has not.
Okay.
I mean, he's got a big Senate race, and I know he's been supportive of a lot of candidates running for office, and I respect that.
Many of them are his friends.
Yeah.
Many of your.
He went. My sister went to high school with him over in Stillwell, so I've known him for a while. He's known our family for a while, and know where we stand, and so he's been supportive of that.
Well, I may need to give him a call.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm going to say something. We were talking about endorsements, so I haven't made one yet. I haven't, and I don't know if I will later, but I'm going to make one right now. And I everything I've heard, I think you're the guy. I think you're what we need. We need fresh voices, fresh faces, and you check all the boxes.
I appreciate that.
Now watch. Monday I'll read something about you.
Yeah. You know,
well, to reaffirm,
he's a fake Indian.
Well,
he's another Elizabeth Warren, 2,050th percent or something.
You're up against several former and current state legislators,
right?
And there's maybe 2 of them that would still be in the running. For me, most of them, I don't want anything to do.
Right.
I think the people that I know in eastern and southeastern Oklahoma, and I know your district goes from Bartlesville to Broken Bow, right? So it's, I think the people there really don't want a slick-talking politician.
Right.
I mean, I got to know Wes Watkins a little bit, who's historically been that congressman, you know, and the last thing he would want to impress in common folks is how good a politician he is. You know, these are common folk.
Right.
These are salt of the earth folk.
Yes.
And I just, I think the appeal of populism is probably stronger there than anywhere else in the state.
Yeah. And when you said that, the salt of the earth, that's a big statement there. You know, whenever you say the salt of the earth, we're here to prevent corruption. It's what salt does to meat. It prevents its erosion. And that's what we're here ultimately to do. And so picking a common folk that knows that they can't be bought off is what you're going to find out with me, because you can never buy me off. You can't buy my voice. Only the people is what I listen to, and that's what reverberates out of me and the representative, and that's what the 2nd Congressional District of Oklahoma needs.
This is good. Seriously. Yeah, now, if you get to Washington, okay, what do you think you can do in your first term?
Well, in the first term, obviously lead in the solution for the McGirt decision and how the tribes and the states are working together. That's the first thing I can lead on there. You know, the other thing is going to take a look at...
Do you think, does the House have the ability, because isn't that more of a judicial matter right now?
No, because the tribes ultimately are held under what the United States Congress tells them they can and can't do. They are domestic dependent sovereign nations, so they're dependent upon whatever Congress lines out that their capabilities are. So
I see, because I thought it was moving its way up through the courts. I thought it was moving its way up through the courts.
No, there's fights going on back and forth in the courts between tribes and state to try to overturn or limit the McGirt decision.
Right.
And that's where we're having problems
in
at.
simple terms, the crux was...
Dave, I need you to get closer to
the crux was that Congress did not dissolve the tribal land, if we will, as most people just presumed it had happened. For a century, we thought it was.
Right.
I mean, so Congress not acting is what caused this situation to eventually bubble up. So Congress taking the right action is key to the resolution.
Right. So basically, right now, judiciary can only make temporary fixes, or is trying to do temporary fixes, but to really deal with it, it has to be congressional action.
Absolutely.
Okay, now I got it. Okay, great. So this would be your primary first.
That would be my primary focus right here in Oklahoma. The other thing is to also continue to protect Oklahoma rights, and that's by going up to D.C. and start working with other legislators. I know Mark Wayne sounds to be doing pretty successful in his race, and I know it's something him and I has talked about, trying to work on pulling the regulations out from the President of the United States and back underneath Congress, because if we can't represent the 2nd Congressional District on regulations, and we're seeing the inflation's going up there because of the regulation interpretation by the new president that came in that's led us to this problem, Congress has to be able to retract that in order to be able to control it better.
So you're talking regarding oil and
and how we be able to pump it. Yeah, absolutely. So...
Wow. Yeah, it's important stuff. See, this is, again, ladies and gentlemen, why we have to return the power to the local jurisdictions. And this is what is so lacking and what people are forgetting. You got all these people making promises on what they're going to do when they get to Washington about abortion, Roe v. Wade, and da. But when it gets down to it, we've got to get back to our local jurisdictions. Yeah. Dave, you got any more?
No, I think what I heard I'm really impressed with. I would have liked to have gotten just a little more specifics about what your proposed blueprint is for resolving, but I also respect the fact that you're not trying to impose your solution as much as listening.
Right.
And finding consensus.
Absolutely.
That's a good point.
It bridges a gap.
Yeah. Wes, so if you take a minute or two, whatever you want, and if you will look at that camera right there and just kind of let the people know what you would like to tell them.
And how to get in touch with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing is, Wes Nofire running for Congress. Need your vote and support June 28th. If you want to get in contact with us, you can look us up at wesnofire.com. Join our mission and our team and what we're standing for at teamnofire.com. And like I said, it's a very important race to make sure that we have all the support out there to represent you in D.C. because ultimately it comes down to you and nobody else. So appreciate you guys allowing me to be here and taking the time to talk about some of these important issues.
Thank you very much. We'll be back in a few. All right, everybody, we're back. Wow, that was something. It was really fun. I was very serious on everything I said there. I really want to highly endorse this guy because we need fresh blood. Mm-hmm. Fresh blood. And he seems fresh. And his background is so different. You can tell he's conservative and he's youthfully conservative. Mm-hmm. He's Native American. He's like me. He's half and half. Half-breed. You know, it used to be a bad thing, didn't it?
Yeah.
I remember movies, somebody was a half-breed Indian, you know, in those old cowboy westerns.
Yeah.
But 50% is a lot these days to be half anything.
Yeah, I'm not 50% anything. You know, I mean, I'm just such a mix. Fact is, Eddie,
Some people would say you're 100% something.
Yeah, I think
it may not be good.
There you go. Yeah.
They say that about me all the time. That Eddie Huff, he's 100%. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But anyway, no, but seriously, that was good. I just got a text this week, from Mike, his, campaign manager there, and who used to work for Mark Wayne Mullin. Yeah. And he's a good guy. He's a West Point graduate. Mm-hmm. Mike was a West Point graduate.
Yeah, I've known Mike about 10 years. Yeah. He worked the Ron Paul campaign in 2012. Oh, really? Very much a Liberty Republican, and we have a lot of mutual friends. Fun guy. Man, a great character.
Yeah. And he sent me a text. Would you be open to having him come in and Wes come in? And I said, yeah, sure. But I didn't know him from Adam. And it turns out he was a good guy, and I'm very, very happy that we brought him in.
Mike dropped a bombshell after we went to break, and it's a couple of big endorsements.
Are we allowed to?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. You're talking about other people that endorsed Wes.
Yeah, surprised me.
Yeah, have at it. Let us hear.
So none other than Governor Kevin Stitt has endorsed him, and which speaks highly of Governor Stitt and Attorney General John O'Conner. Now, given, he's a very loyal, committed Cherokee Tribal member and a member of the council. And Governor Stitt says, I like him.
Yeah, it's interesting because Governor Stitt is not that favored by the tribe.
Even though he is a Cherokee.
Yeah, even though he is, the tribe's not that in favor of him. But you can tell that Wes, while he sits on the council, is probably not a fair-haired boy either, because he bucks them in many ways, and some of the things he told us afterwards that they're fighting against, which we'll talk about here in the future, they're going to become more and more prominent. But this is very important to people, and I'll tell you what, if we were to, say, elect him as a congressperson, it would be really a feather in our cap to have a Native American congressman I mean, Mark Wayne Mullin is a Cherokee.
Yes.
But not as prominent, I would say.
Right, not a member of the Tribal Council.
Exactly.
And then Tom Cole is a
Cole.
Chickasaw.
Right.
And our governor is Cherokee.
Right, Cherokee. So, it would be good, Indian Nation. This used to be Indian country.
Yeah.
What it was for a long time. So, hey, let's represent.
And
let's represent.
Another thing that came out, and I can't get into the details because it's still in the works, but the 4 other, quote, civilized tribes, Seminole, Creek, Choctaw, and Chickasaw, are ready to sit down to talks with the governor. The tribe that's just not even ready to talk is the Cherokees. And it's because of the Cherokee leadership, not the citizens thereof. It's a radical Cherokee leadership right now.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. And you know what that's all about. You know what?
Well, I can think of a lot of things. What are you thinking about?
Money.
Oh, yeah.
It's always.
Yeah.
The root of all evil. I mean, seriously, everything.
Yeah.
Look, when you're talking Washington D.C., when we're talking about everything that's going on, the January 6th Commission, the powers that be, it's all about money.
Yeah.
It's not about you. It's not about me. It's about money. Nancy Pelosi. There's so much stinking money, so many shenanigans that have been going on. All these people, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, all these people that they've got sitting on this January 6th panel. It's all about money.
They
can couch it. It's like putting lipstick on a pig, as they say.
Yeah, and I want to flesh that out a little bit. Money is also the mother's milk of politics. And when you take away somebody's money machine, the politics is going to fall with it. Yeah. Why do you think Biden's going after the oil industry? Because they've been supporting Republicans.
Right.
When Stitt says, we got to look at these gaming compacts. Oh my God, those are fighting words.
I remember my good friend David Brumbaugh. He's one of my best friends. Yeah. He's passed away now. He was a state representative. And he told me after his first election, he was voted in from Broken Arrow. He told me that he was just shocked one day. These, what do you call them? Lobbyists for the tribes came in. And they said, we're here, we're ready to put $100,000 into your campaign. But here's what we want you to do. He said, they told him, you will either do this or we will put this $100,000 and someone else we find to run against you.
Yeah.
They will find somebody to run against you, and we will put that money up against them. I thought, wow.
Yeah.
This is what our politicians have to put up with.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. This is what you're having to fight, and it's like the DEA. There's so much corruption going on in the DEA, right? I mean, everybody knows it. The Border Patrol too.
Okay.
They put up a good, I want to say good fight, and a lot of it is putting up a good face. I always used to say this on the Pat Campbell show. The failure of the war on drugs is not a failure of the war on drugs. The failure is that we've never really fought a war on drugs. The war on drugs is like the war in Vietnam. We never really fought it to win. Russia fights to win. The Islamic terrorists, the Islamic fundamentalists, they fight to win. They will not quit. They will do whatever it takes. Those suicide bombers, or whatever it takes, they're in it to win it. Sacrifice, go all out. They don't care. Call me names, talk about my mother, whatever, give their lives to it. We, as civilized Americans, we have scruples.
Yeah.
Scruples, right?
Right.
And so therefore, with our scruples, we let our scruples beat us.
Yeah.
In Vietnam, we had the ability to win it, but we decided to honor the DMZ. We had the stupid demilitarized zone. Why? It's a war. Just go north, blow up, just don't drop bombs, go push in and start wiping out they're people, and they use brutality. They, I won't go into it. There's stories I could tell you. My dad was in there, and cousins that died, and best friends that died, because I was in that age.
Yeah.
But the Viet Cong, they had no scruples.
Yeah, one of my favorite Vietnam War movies is Flight of the Intruder, where a couple of rogue pilots decided, the heck with it, we are bombing Hanoi. Yeah. It's true. You don't go to war with the hand tied behind your back.
What did Rush Limbaugh used to say about war?
Well, it's to kill people and break things, what the military's for.
Right.
Yeah.
But not anymore.
Right.
Now, I don't know what it's for.
It's about the right pronouns, Eddie.
Excuse me. Yeah, I forgot. We even have to wear the right gear, the right colored outfits, and
and understanding white rage.
Yeah, right. Oh man.
Yep.
Hey, okay, let's shift.
Listen, there was another breaking news item here that happened in the break.
Okay,
and this is Michael Stopp. I'm going to give credit for it because of the pro-life bills that have come in Oklahoma. Wendy Stearman, who is the author of the most stringent one in America right now, is texting her this morning about this. Because of McGirt, if you are a tribal member in tribal land, then all of these abortion laws don't apply to you. And as a net result, Michael Stopp said you could see over the next 2 years a massive increase in abortion clinics in Indian land. And we got to get ready for it. We got to be able to respond. That's why you need to resolve McGirt. It's a festering wound right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another breaking story I had.
Yeah. I don't want to get caught up in McGirt though, because there's enough other problems.
Yeah.
You know what McGirt reminds me of? Backward masking.
Oh, that's right. Didn't Petra play into that with one of their albums?
I don't know.
Why are you looking for the devil when you should be seeking God?
Yeah.
They backward mask that.
For those of you that don't know what in the heck we're talking about, back in the 70s and 80s, this group of people decided to come up with the idea that record companies were putting satanic messages on albums that if you play them backwards, that it had satanic messages. So it just got sillier and sillier. And so Bob Larson, who is
a radio guy and evangelist.
And he actually started out buying into this, but then he finally turned around and realized how silly it was. Yeah. And he did one of his deals, and he played it backwards, and when you played it backwards, it said something like, "I worship you, O Lord Satan," or something. But he did it on purpose just to show how stupid it was, that it actually, you could do anything like that. And in the forwards, it was like praising God, but it was backwards. But he finally people got it. But, and the most common thing about it is, look, why are you listening to music backwards when there's enough evil in the music forward that you shouldn't be listening to it going forward? When you're talking about having sex blindly, regardless, and this and this, all of the nastiness and vilosity, whatever, if there's such a word, I'm going to make a new word, vilosity, with all of that going on, why would you want to play it backwards? Yeah. And so, it did, and it helped the record industry because people were going out buying
albums they wouldn't normally let their kids listen to.
AC/DC, Black Sabbath. Oh, I gotta listen to this back. Record stores. Yeah, sure. Here. That'd be $9.99. And so kids going home. Oh, hey, parent, what do you do with that black? Oh, I gotta listen to it backwards. Listen to this. There's satanic messages backwards. And and then of course, anyway. But that's what this reminded McGirt decision, because there's so much crap going on forwards. That McGirt is just, to me, it's kind of a distraction. If you take care of the big things. If we get rid of our government, okay, if we get our government straight, if we hire people like Wes and do that throughout Oklahoma, throughout 50 states in America, and put a new president, put a new Congress, put a new Senate in. If we change the tenor of this nation, McGirt will take care of itself.
Yeah. And by the way, one of your former clients, you were their European promoters, Petra. They probably had one of the most effective arguments to shut down this whole hysteria on black when they just put at the end of one of their side A or side B of their album some actual backward masking that you had to play it backwards, and it was for Hartman saying, why are you looking for the devil when you should be seeking the Lord? You know, it's just bam, there you go.
Yeah,
anyway.
Good. Hey, I've got a. Did you talk about the additional endorsements?
Yes, I got a little bit of a news story. There's a couple of things happening.
We missed this, and Wes being so excited to meet the celebrities that we are.
Oh, yeah.
It's understandable that he could forget.
Sure.
But,
but yeah, Governor Stitt and Attorney General John O'Conner have both endorsed the man who sat right there in that chair, Wes Nofire.
Yeah.
And so I think that speaks well for balance, that this isn't just a rabid, tribal member. This is somebody that our state leaders think, you know what, this is one of the sensible adults in the room.
And I will say it, that when I did my endorsement, I didn't even know that. So that was I just get a witness. Sometimes I get a witness on people. It was like Mark Wayne Mullin years ago that I just felt this is the guy.
Okay, so you got to say it like Bill Clinton did. Governor Stitt and Attorney General John O'Conner now agree with me.
Never, ever put me in the same league with Bill Clinton.
Oh, the guy was a master for the language.
You just ruined everything out. You just negated. You whited out. You whited out anything that I just said. Forget that. In fact, edit that portion out of the video, and I'm going to edit out of the audio.
Yeah.
It will not appear on the audio.
I'm just saying, listen, when a person's good at finessing the English language, you got to sit back.
Well, that's not me. The English language finesses me.
But yes, you made your decision independently.
I did.
And that's the point of this, and I don't want to take away or distract from it. So yeah, there are a couple other guys I'm still looking at, but it's, he now sets the new high bar for me. I'll put it that way.
In
it's
that
not yet an
race.
endorsement.
Yeah. The the Senate race is still kind of a toss-up there. It's kind of interesting. T.W. Shannon was supposed to speak at the Tulsa Republican Men's Club this week.
And he didn't. On the show.
Yeah, and supposed to come, and he didn't. He apparently didn't make it. But at the same time, there was a debate on Channel 6 on Thursday night. Was it Thursday night, I think it was?
Oh, yeah, it was.
Yeah. It was
Thursday night.
It was Thursday night. And Mark Wayne Mullin didn't show up for that.
Right.
It was Mark Wayne said the reason was he felt he needed to be in Washington because I think they were doing some strategy to counter the January 6th commission. It's more like the January 6th omission. All the stuff they left out of that concocted deal. It was ridiculous, which is something we should get into. That is the biggest joke. It's kangaroo court, and I apologize to kangaroo courts, because it's such a mess. We truly have become the USSR.
Yeah,
it's. You remember the Beatles song "Back in the USSR"?
Yeah. Don't
know how lucky you are. That has come to pass. It was a prophetic song, apparently. Back in the USSR, don't know how lucky you are. Sometimes I almost feel like I'd rather be living in the USSR right now because of the stuff that's going on here in America. This is ridiculous. If they think that is anywhere close to a truth, you just got a bunch of mean, just bitter, jealous, petty people that are vindictive and wouldn't know the truth if it bit them in the behind, in their substantial behinds, by the way. It's sad, Dave.
Yeah.
Our nation is really in trouble.
Eddie, I'll agree with you on one aspect for sure. The decadent Western culture that we are submersed in does not prevail in much of the Soviet former states. I've gotten to study Latvia, Lithuania, and some of the Baltic states. They kind of have the best of both worlds because you don't see the decadence that we're barraged with all the time. Much more pro-family. Now, I'm not talking about the government. I'm talking about the people. Yeah. You know, and a lot of the Eastern Europeans, you know, it's much like Latin America. We, you know, talk about the immigrants coming here from Latin America. Is that, you know what? They're pro-family people, probably more than a lot of
Africa.
Yeah, you know, and stuff. So in that sense, I can agree with you. Take the government part out of it, the culture of a lot of other nations, I prefer over the culture here.
I think what happened, communism and socialism ran its course in Eastern Europe, including Russia.
Yeah.
And they saw what it did. It destroyed their nations. They were proud nations. And the Bolsheviks destroyed it. It ran its course and destroyed those nations. For some reason, some wise guys, people that thought they were smarter than everyone else, godless people, probably all of those guys who were kicked out of Eastern Europe, they all came to U.S. And decided, well, we're going to make it work here.
Yeah.
And so once they left there, they cleaned it up over there. And that's why those places, I mean, right now, to me, what I think the most near, it's not perfect, never going to get perfect, probably the most near perfect society on the planet is not Scandinavia. It's not the Eurozone. It's Hungary.
Yeah.
And Hungary is under immense attack by the EU.
Yeah.
They're under attack by those Western European nations.
That's a perfect example.
They're under attack by the United States. Why? Because they're choosing to do what's right. And it's a perfect blend of everything. Yeah. They're truly helping the needy and giving incentive to the needy. But if you're not really needy, if you're lazy, you're not getting it.
Yeah.
Right? They're identifying the true need. They're doing the thing where they're giving incentive to people. For example, if you got so many kids we want to raise the population, they're keeping aliens out, okay? They're not letting any immigrants, all these people coming from Syria, these Syrian refugees and these African migrants that are trying to break in. Have you seen those films? They've got water cannons at the border.
I've got to look at that. No, I haven't.
Yeah. Tucker showed it.
Tucker, yeah.
They did a whole special. He's interviewed the president and everything, and they're calling him a racist, and he said, listen, it's not. Ukraine, speaking of racist, Ukraine is one of the most racist countries in the world. I've seen interviews with Africans there, and they just treat them like crap. Yeah. But anyway, Hungary, and they show the borders, and these refugees are trying to, and he's got these, like the fire, wagons, but these water cannons, and they're just shooting it at these, and they just flee, and they're big barbed wire fences. So their wall is working. They're keeping people out. They will not let anybody in unless you have papers and are legally allowed in. Yep. And in fact, my wife and I are planning a trip next year. You don't need vaccine passports or anything. You can just come in. People, beautiful streets, cafes, the whole deal. So. Yeah. It's a model country, and America and the EU are trying to destroy it. Yeah. They're trying to paint the guy. Oh, by the way, he won the election 90%.
Wow.
They try to brand him as a dictator and all this, but he won the election 90%, and it was a free and fair election. There was no shenanigans. He won by 90%.
Yeah, I gotta give a hat tip to Matt Walsh and the people at Daily Wire. They get this, Eddie. Our battle is not politics. Our battle is culture. Yeah. Politics is downstream from culture. Yeah. And you control the culture, you'll control the politics. Right. So they just did a documentary Matt Walsh put together called "What Is a Woman," and it just blows apart this whole wokeness thing.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
So we've got to deal with that.
I thought it was a Babylon Bee spoof. Seriously.
Yeah.
When he was interviewing these women, these psychologists, what I call them, but I couldn't believe. I thought it was a joke, and it was for real. Mm-hmm. Did you saw the video?
I've seen parts of it. Believe me, my gotta watch list is as high as my gotta read list. I still haven't finished this book, but I feel like I should be able to clap out because I sit here every week with you.
2,000 Mules is one I haven't seen yet.
Yeah,
still
and Darren's inviting us over any time. By the way, he's got a copy.
I know, yeah.
So there's that. But yeah, I do have. I've got some state politics thing and kind of.
All right, I do want to, you were talking about culture.
Yeah.
This shows the insanity our nation has fallen to. Mm-hmm. It's craziness, okay? I mean, I heard this morning. I couldn't believe it.
Is that the one I thought it was a Babylon Bee thing?
Yes.
Oh, gosh, yes, folks.
Geico, the insurance company. Mm-hmm. Geico, the little
I think it's a subsidiary of Blue Cross, isn't it? I'm pretty sure Geico was started by Blue Cross people.
Okay, I just knew government employees insurance company. No, it was a government employee.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, okay, so I can't hardly even say this. Okay, Geico is ordered to pay a Missouri woman. Okay, a jury found this. It's in a jury. I can't believe this. This is unbelievable. She is being awarded $5.2 million.
What, from her car insurance company?
From a car insurance company, not hers, someone else's.
Oh!
After she contracted an STD, sexually transmitted disease, in a car.
Having backseat sex, and now she... It's not my fault. It's somebody else's fault.
This is a true story, people.
Now,
a Missouri woman was awarded $5.2 million in a settlement from an insurance company, government employees insurance company, Geico,
well, she must
after contracting a sexually transmitted disease.
Okay, she must have got raped, right?
No.
Oh, this is consensual sex.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Let me read the story.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Let me get there. We'll get there. You can ask all your questions. As they say, hold your questions to the end.
Yeah.
Oh, man. A Missouri woman was awarded $5.2 million in a settlement from an insurance company, Geico, after contracting a sexually transmitted disease from her partner in his vehicle, which was insured by the company, court documents show. The Missouri Court of Appeals, they upheld the award.
Oh, my God.
They didn't even... The woman, a Jackson County resident, said she contracted the human papillomavirus, HPV, from her partner, according to court documents, on Tuesday. The Missouri Court of Appeals filed an opinion confirming the initial Jackson County Circuit Court arbitration award. This was arbitrated, which means, that must mean they awarded even higher initially.
Wow.
In February of 2021, the woman, anonymously identified in documents as M.O., submitted a petition to Geico directly. She alleged that her sexual partner negligently caused her or contributed to be infected with HPV by not taking proper precautions and neglecting to inform and or disclose her diagnosis, according to court documents, and that his insurance policy provided coverage for her injuries and losses.
Oh.
She made a final settlement offer of $1 million to resolve her claims, the document says. In April, Geico denied coverage and refused her settlement, according to the document filed. The case was then sent to arbitration. The arbitrator determined that there was sexual activity in the auto that directly caused or directly contributed to cause the woman to be infected with HPV, despite her former partner's knowledge of his positive diagnosis.
Was he assigned any, responsibility to pay damages? I guess technically.
Yeah, it is him, but then the insurance company is responsible
Okay. Obviously, some policies are going to be rewritten now by Geico.
My question is, first of all, what kind of insurance policy would he have that would cover him for $1 million?
Yeah. Because you don't write those every day, do you?
No, I mean, it would have to be an umbrella policy. Mm-hmm. And then, because the company didn't settle for $1 million, they give her $5.2 million.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's just punitive damages.
I mean,
honestly, but this goes to the whole idea of moral decay.
Yes.
Instead of saying, well, lady, you shouldn't have had sex in the back seat of the guy's car.
Yes. And isn't there a vaccine for people who are sexually active?
HPV.
There's an HPV vaccine.
Yeah.
And either it didn't take or she didn't bother getting one, even though she was recklessly negligent. Right? I mean, just right there on the face of it, not having the vaccine, which is widely available.
Yeah.
You know, this is just nuts. This is, you know, and now there's going to be a staff of lawyers for Geico who's going to get chewed out up and down because they didn't predict this scenario.
No. Who could predict such a scenario?
Yeah, I know. But now that you can bet on it, they are rewriting this policy.
No, what's going to happen, everybody with Geico, you're going to see that little gecko.
Yeah.
And he's going to be like this, and you're going to see tears welling up in those little eyes.
Yes. And he's going to carry around a pack of condoms.
Yeah, where he says, did you feel that? You know that commercial he's got where he looks in there, could you feel that?
Yes.
Those are good. I mean, you got to admit, that's some good animation. Did you feel that?
Yes.
We had a connection there.
Yes.
But the little gecko.
Yes.
But,
and he'll pop his head out of the backseat of a car and say, oh, and you're covered for this.
No.
We got to move on, Eddie.
I'm getting all kinds. I better not even share what I'm picturing in my mind right now. The little gecko, he's in the front seat and he's peeking over in the back. Excuse me. And he's holding, you may want to use it.
Yeah, we're bad.
See, it's you.
It's me.
Yeah, you see, Dave made me do it. Okay, all right. No, seriously, Dave. Mm-hmm. But it goes back to what we were talking about.
Yeah.
The culture.
It is.
The culture. When, first of all, a jury assigns $1 million that this lady should have never engaged in this, first of all.
Absolutely.
You know,
this is
what's the
negligence under.
What's the original saying? Know your enemy. Mm-hmm. Right. Know your enemy. See something, say something. Mm-hmm. Know your partner. Right. Mm-hmm. And then for an appeals court to up it to $5 million in arbitration and settlement, $5.2 million. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and this is state of Missouri, right?
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
Unbelievable.
Hey, Ukraine is kind of falling from the front page. Mm-hmm. What's the name of I just had it. The town that's been in the news that has been under siege. Yeah, Mariupol. Now they've got cholera breaking out in there. It's a mess. Mm-hmm. As I said, and even some of these stations that were all pro-Ukraine are now saying that, they should have tried to settle this earlier.
Well, the cholera is from,
it's cholera, yeah.
Yeah,
cholera.
When you kill everybody, you got rotting corpses everywhere. You're going to have all kinds of disease.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry to paint an ugly picture, but that's the reality of war.
Yeah. They need, people on Facebook, some European friends of mine that, and others, some here, don't understand when I was trying to say that this could or should have been avoided. They never should have put this nation through this, and you still got these people on the news saying, yes, we need Americans to send us money, send us weapons. Mm-hmm. We can do this. We can, no, you can't. You can't do this. It's just not going to work. And they're not going to do it. And Biden's not a trustworthy friend.
Yeah.
If he is, and these generals that they keep bringing on Newsmax and Fox, no.
Mark Wayne Mullin broke the story right here. Joe Biden is responsible for there not already being a peace deal.
Yeah.
because his mouth screwed it up 2 ways over in 1 week, one trip to Europe.
Yeah. Did you have some more things you wanted to share?
Yeah, real quick. Wednesday, I did go to the Republican Men's Club meeting. T.W. Shannon wasn't there, but Sean Roberts, who Kevin Stitt has endorsed for labor commissioner, was there. He's introduced by a freshman state rep, Wendy Stearman. I mean, I'm in awe of this woman. Homeschool mom decides to run. It's an open seat. Dr. Everett Piper.
What is Wendy running for?
Well, she's now up for re-election.
Oh,
but she
for
was
labor commissioner.
Sean Roberts is running for labor commissioner.
And so Wendy is now supporting Sean Roberts.
Yes,
okay.
she introduced him there, and afterwards.
And what is Wendy? I mean, does she hold a position?
She's a state rep. She's from Collinsville here in Tulsa County, a district that takes in the northern part of Tulsa County all the way up and well into Bartlesville.
Okay.
And she, all of a sudden, we were talking, and she was just distraught. And I said, what's wrong? She says, I just got word Dr. Everett Piper, after endorsing me last time, has just endorsed my opponent. And I said, really? Where do you have? She says, I'm trying to get it. Piper's not responding to me. So last night, I reached out to Everett Piper, and this morning he had responded to me. And he said, my support of John Kane of Bartlesville has nothing, as in zero, to do with being disappointed in Wendy Stearman. She has been an outstanding representative. I support John because he's been a friend for 20 years. He's one of the most honorable people I know. I support John because he's trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind. Okay. Well, anyway, so you're Boy Scout. I think of what Pat Buchanan said. When there is no need to change, there is a need not to change. Because all John McCain can ever do, and I looked at John McCain's announcement last fall and he's running. He said, position-wise, I don't have any distinctive difference from Wendy Stearman.
John McCain?
I looked, John Kane.
John Kane.
Is his name.
McCain.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, he's come back. Yeah.
So really this comes down to Piper, and I'm going to paraphrase you, Everett. Somebody from my clique is running now. And here's the thing. Wendy Stearman, as a freshman, she has the confidence of the House leadership and gets placed right away as a vice chair of a committee. What happened this year, this conservative woman, homeschool mom, raising her kids, she wrote the most pro-life bill in America and got it passed and signed by the governor.
Oh, she's the one.
She's the one.
Can we get her in here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I told you, anytime. We'll get you here. And if you think on speculation that your buddy with no political experience, I'm talking to you, Mr. Piper, can somehow be better than her, no. At best, he might emulate her. But I'm telling you, when we've got the real thing, I'm not going to speculate. And I am endorsing wholeheartedly Wendy Stearman for re-election.
What's the old saying? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What I think this really is, and we were talking to some politicos before the show today, is I think we got something happening here. Bartlesville split into 2 House districts. One goes to the south and into Tulsa County. The other goes into Nowata County. And they're right now being represented from somebody in Nowata County and someone in Tulsa County. And you get this attitude of, this is Bartlesville's seat. Both of them. And we want Bartlesville people to represent us. And Earl Sears is running. Now, he's the former, very rhino, former state rep who held that seat. And now he is running Wendy Stearman's opponent's campaign. And it's just a nativism thing in my book. But anyway, I'm a little bit worked up on that. I told Wendy, I'm with you.
All right, I see.
All right.
I see. Yeah, I look forward to meeting her and hearing her. And, if you're that impressed, she must be pretty good.
She's the real deal. This is a citizen legislator.
No, but when you say she's the one that wrote the bill, the anti-abortion bill that got passed in Oklahoma, which is now the most stringent in the United States of America. In fact, they were talking about it on Fox News and Newsmax this morning. Then that tells you something that we are on the map, people.
Yeah,
we've got the ire of MSNBC. Yeah. CNN and all the rest of them. So we're doing something right. And I hope this fall, I hope in November, that we make the news big time. That Governor Stitt just blows away all of these super PACs, okay, or these this dark money. I hope this dark money goes back into the dark hole they came out of. Yep. And that our state becomes a representative. There's two states or three actually, but there's two in particular that I'm really high on in the governors of those two states. One, of course, is Oklahoma. The other is South Dakota and Kristi Noem. She's another lady I really respect, and you can usually tell if they're doing a good job. It's because they're being attacked constantly. And the third one, of course, is Ron DeSantis in Florida. Okay, so those are the three states right now, everybody, that as Christians we need to be praying for those governors. We need to be praying for those governors and the legislatures that surround them, that they would stay strong, that their support structure would stay strong, that they wouldn't have those backstabbers that Donald Trump had. Yep. I cannot believe the legion of backstabbers that Donald Trump had. Yeah. It's unbelievable. They're lining up. They just line up every day. Somebody new turns on them. Turncoat. I mean, it just blows me away, the betrayal. I mean, listen, there's people that I have worked with, that I have been with, that I've been around. I could name people that I know, have known, but you don't see me on here on every Saturday naming somebody else that I used to be with or work with or used to like, telling you about what kind of person they were and what kind of a dirtbag they were or whatever, okay? I guess it goes back to my childhood where if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. So just, I can't believe it. I mean, I guess it's the Washington way. People, there's no loyalty. There's no loyalty. There's no honesty. Here's the deal. If you don't like somebody from the beginning, don't go to work for them. Find a job where it's somebody you can respect and work for. Same in the newsroom. This girl that was at Fox Sports, and now she moved over to ESPN, and she had nerve enough because there were 5 or 6 Atlanta Brave players that refused to wear the gay patch.
Yeah, I saw that.
The gay pride patch. They wouldn't wear it. And the one guy made a nice statement, perfect statement, said, we just don't believe, we're not going to wear it. We're not against them. We don't hate them. We're, if they want to do that, let them do that. But we can't do that. Our conscience, our God won't allow us to do that. She sat up there on ESPN and just started berating these people and their God, our God, and their faith. If we did that if she did that against Islam,
oh God, yes,
she would be done. She would be done.
Yep.
Stick a fork in her. She's finished. She's done.
That's just it.
You can't do it. But you talk about Christianity, a Christian God.
Yeah, it's open season.
Yeah. In fact, I wish there were a Muslim player that would do that. I guarantee her. Her mouth would be shut instantly. She would be done. It wouldn't be a 2-week suspension either.
Yep.
She would be done. The other thing, did we talk about Jack Del Rio?
Oh, I read about it this morning. Yeah. We didn't say it.
He basically defended the people on January 6th.
Yeah.
And all he said was that they didn't have any weapons. It was a riot. He admitted it was a riot, but it was definitely not any worse than the riots that occurred all summer long prior. And they want his head.
They fined him $100,000.
$100,000. He hasn't apologized for a tweet. When he spoke, he came out and he didn't apologize.
Okay.
So now they decided they were going to fine him $100,000, but let him play. The gutless coach of the Yellowskins, that's what they should have named him, the Washington Yellowskins. Anyway, now it's not enough though. You watch, they won't give. Jack Del Rio is All-Pro, Hall of Famer.
Oh.
They're going to want to pull him out of the Hall of Fame. They're going to want to erase his name. You watch. $100,000 fine, it's not enough. Never enough. Gruden, not enough. Anything. Just because he talked about this guy's lips being as big as Michelin tires. You know. You can't tell the truth anymore. So, you know, it's a sad state. Culture.
Yep.
$5.2 million because you got an STD having sex in the back of a car. And the insurance company is going to get, it's because the insurance company's money. These people don't realize that as soon as their insurance rates go up, Geico starts jacking the rates up and everybody else's rates are going to go up because they can get hooked with that. They're going to be blaming the insurance company. No, it's not the insurance company. It's those people sitting on that jury that gave the stupid people on the jury gave this crazy woman $5.2 million. And yes, it was you. You might have thought it was $1 million, but it turned into it was like pull a rabbit out of the hat, $5.2 million. All right, Dave, we better quit.
Yep. Look, Eddie, last thing I want to say, when the culture goes to hell, you can't get enough lawyers to write protection on contracts for any insurance policy.
It's true.
You know, and but it's the culture, folks.
Yeah. Hey, Wes Nofire.
Yes. Yep.
It's an easy one to remember. No fire.
Yep.
Really?
Good
guy. Yeah. I think we agree on something.
I think so.
We do.
Yeah, and I'm close to endorsing. I just got to hear from a couple more voices, but Wes set a new high bar for me.
Dave listens to those voices in his head.
Yes.
You know, so
you're just jealous because they ain't talking to you, Eddie.
And I'm glad. Remember, I said no to drugs.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
You smoked a lot more pot than I did, Eddie.
But I'm against it.
I've been a teetotaler since I was 19, Eddie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, God bless everybody. Have a great week.
It's been good.
They do have, you could use that. I have the earbuds where you could just plug one